Good day. I'm Mike James, and this is Parkitect. How's everyone doing? Thank you so much for joining me again. I do appreciate it. Hope you're doing well. This is a brief overview of the park I've been working on. And one thing I noticed, because I use the mod, the HPOP's better perspective camera mod, so I'm not locked in to the four cardinal axes and that 45-degree angle. This is about as big as I can get it with my frame rate staying reasonable. Now, I only run a GTX 660, pretty old card, but it does well. Just when we get this much in the park, I think it's running out of memory. I think we're running into a memory buffer, swapping in and out, slowing things down. We got a great show for you today. I'm going to show you a group of entrances for roller coasters. Now, you'll notice right here, you see Dragon Fight. That's my my twin roller coaster for the new Giga Coaster, and it's got just a basic entrance to it. I'm not real super happy with it, but I think it looks okay. I'm going to show you 3 different entrances today that you can use on your roller coasters. And the first 2 are basic covered entrances that look a lot like the one up here, a little different each. The last one I really like, though. So let's get right into it. So here we are, and I've sped this up a lot. Now this first one, it gets a little jumpy. I do apologize. The mod I used, the perspective mod, wasn't working. There was an update to the game, and the mod had a little bit of a conflict, maybe with one of my other mods. So I had to use a different perspective mod. I'm not real comfortable with it, and it's a little jerkier than the one I like. So there's a little bit more spinning around than I like. So please bear with me on that. You can see I'm jumping all over the place. This is a basic, just going to be a basic entrance. Now, what you want to do is you want to lay down your track like I have here, just the entrance part, just the queue, and then build around that. Now, you want to lay down, as I have here, you see I've laid down the actual lines first, and I'm just going to try to cover up the whole top so that when you're in line, you're not seeing down to the first floor. Now, you notice I do this a couple times. These are the basic squares. Now, the outside of the building is from the building set number 2 that came out last week. And these square blocks are just from the default scenery. If you've been with me a while, I use a lot of mods. I just love the options. Now, I'm putting this railing along to, it's not like people are really going to fall off, but you want to make things look good. This railing is from the Pirate mod, and it's got a couple really neat pieces to it. One of my favorites, though, is this railing. This is a great railing, and you notice here, I'm deciding I want to be able to see my people as they're in line and going towards the coaster, so I track it all along the front so that when this is open, you're going to see the people walking back and forth, getting on to the ride. Now, when I finish this up, you're going to notice that I do a lot of work near the end, trying to make the outside look a little different. One of the things, if there's one thing that we're really lacking in the game right now, it's a lot of specific scenery items to make the outside of your building look unique and interesting. These are just regular pillars out of the base game, and I just want to put something, because I'm going to put a roof on this. And if the roof is just hanging there, it just doesn't look right. So I try to put some pillars in, but I try to make them, I guess, as I don't want to say less obvious, but less intrusive to the overall design. I also don't raise my roofs up real high above the level the peeps are walking at. I know a lot of people raise it up a little higher than that. I think it looks more realistic if you leave it down a little lower. Again, these same blocks that we've used before out of the default set, and here we are with the having a problem with the camera jumping all over the place. Now, these are actually chimneys. They're out of the base game. They're the chimneys, and I was trying to figure out something to do to make the outside of the building look less plain. Now, it's not a a house or a shop or anything, so you really don't want windows all over the place because that's not the kind of building this is. But you'll want to have something that looks a little interesting. And I didn't want to just use the default, oh, let's just put a railing, one of those rails going across the middle. And eventually I decided that I wanted to make these structural elements, make them look more structural. I started to do this. Now you'll notice in a minute I'm going to delete those and do something a little bigger and bolder up towards the top to make it so that these elements actually look like they're the items that are holding the roof up. I started off doing this and I tried, I went around, I worked on it for a while, and eventually I decided, well, wait a minute, let me put this big chimney element. It's beefy and I can line it up and it'll look like it's holding up at least the outside portion of the roof. And I really like the way that looks. Now, I did have to delete and redo some of the original pieces I put in there just to make it look a little more uniform, to make them match up. But having this so that it's not just an element that I have on the outside, just a tchotchke, it actually looks like it is part of the actual structure of the building. And I really like that. And we still have the internal pillars there, but the external is actually part of the design. And I think that really helps. I also, of course, want to just decorate the roof, and there's those trim pieces that I told you I just didn't want to use just on the bottom of the building. But I did want to use them on the top. It's really something that gives the top piece a little bit of a more finished look, and yeah, I think it looks good. Tell me what you think. Leave a comment down below if you like the way the trim pieces look when you put them on. This is a piece out of I don't even know which set this is out of. It's out of the default set for the add-ons that I've got. It's one of the earlier mods, and it's just a fascia piece, and it comes with 3 or 4 pieces. They're hard to use sometimes, but I found that they look really good on roofs. On this particular entrance, I did go a little farther than I do on some of them, and I actually started adding some shrubberies. Oh gosh, I'm showing my age. Anyway, we need a shrubbery. So I did this, and you can see I'm trying to maybe do something with the shrubbery, put a pear on top, but that just didn't work. I also tried putting some trees in here to give it some height. I really think it would help, but I couldn't find a good way to put the trees in and still have it look good with the shrubs and the potted plants that they recently added to the base game. So I just kind of left it like that. And here it is colored. Now I colored it red with a cream, and you'll notice on those supports on the outside, I also put a little curved piece. That's from the utilities add-on that came out a couple weeks ago. It has vents and air conditioning pieces. So that's just like a curved vent, but it kind of curves in. That way you didn't just have that hard squared edge. You notice I made the pathing like a brownie yellow, and just made everything else look like a sandstone with the main color here. You can see I forgot to paint one piece. Well, 2 pieces actually. That happens. And the main building a red. It almost looks like a brick, not quite, because of course we don't have any vertical lines, but I really like this for a basic building. I really think this looks nice. Let's move on to number 2. You'll notice I raised my my platforms up 2 spaces to give me room to do extra stuff. And in this one, you can see what I'm doing is I am laying down the track, laying down the path again. This time I decided to just do a very simple path section and use those I don't want to call them cornices, those outside pieces, the fascias, as the first 2 levels of the building, just to give it an easy way to make it more interesting. Filling it up again. Now this one, I'll be honest, this one looks the most like a train station of any of them when I get done. I put these windows at the top level because I didn't want to do the poles and everything like I did on the last one. I wanted to do something a little different. So I put these curved windows that are part of the basic set and just made those so that you could see in, but it's not completely obvious. These path covers are part of a the building set 1. Came out about a month or 2 ago. I really like the way this structurally looks. Now, I did leave the insides gray, And again, just basic roofs out of some of the first add-ons that came on. In my video last week or 2 weeks ago, I listed all my mods, so you can see them there. And basically, all of them. There's not very many mods that I don't use. Only a couple, and those are usually the ones that do something to the game that I don't like some cheat code mods or something like that. Now here I'm trying to figure out a way to make the entrance look uniform, because the lines in the building just kind of stop there. And so what I ended up doing is I ended up using out of the new set, building set 2. See, it's S Buildings 2 there in the list on the left. Wanted to use some of these awnings, and it took a little while to figure out how to do it and make them fit, because they're not designed to be a big long awning. They're designed to fit over windows. What I ended up doing was centering the first one and then just letting them overhang on the left and the right once I get the first one centered, and then just manually, without holding Alt down, put them in place, and that makes them fit pretty nice. I did want to put a little pillar here. I think the pillar I went with was a little bigger than I probably should have. You don't need that big beefy pillar to hold up that awning, but it is what it is. I did want to put something, there's that big blank wall. So in addition to putting, I love these billboards. In addition to putting these billboards, I did go into this set. This is the infrastructure set I was talking about earlier. And this is actually a drain. If you turn that around, it's actually got a grating. So it's made to look like a drain in the street. But if you flip it around, it's like a blank circle. It's the only circles we have in the game that you can put on buildings. So I used that and the basic wood beam from the dining set, and just kind of put a little something on the building. And you're going to notice, and I did this all the way around the whole building, but we really don't need to see that. I did color them a little differently. I started out with dark blue and then faded into a light blue as you went around, and then back along to a dark to give it kind of a shimmery effect. I also I painted this all with that blue and light yellow, or medium yellow, I guess. And for the roof, I love that curved roof at the top. I think it really makes it look a lot like a train station, which is what it is. I decided to make the tops of these windows white too, to kind of offset so much blue. And as you can see, when there's people in here, you're going to see people walking all around in there. It looks very nice, very neat. Make your billboard, you don't want it to be Parksy Cola, of course. You make it for whatever the ride's going to be. I like the look of this building. I think it looks really good. It is kind of plain and generic, but sometimes that's okay. Now here's the last one. This turned out to be my favorite, and what happened is I kind of got a wild hair. I thought, I remember when I was a kid, I went to several theme parks with my parents, and one of the ones we went to every year when I was younger was Hershey Park. And one of the roller coasters there, you kind of went up ramps instead of going into a building or anything. You kind of went up ramps on the outside, and you could see what was going on. And that's what I went for here. I got some of the angled pieces out of the first building set, and I wanted to make it look like there were ramps and not just stairs. Now, you can kind of tell if you look really carefully, and you can notice what I'm doing is I'm putting the angle down, going over one, and then going up to match it so it makes a slope, and then just filling in the pieces at the bottom. It takes a couple tries to get this right, but I really think once it's done, the illusion is pretty convincing. I mean, yeah, the people kind of disappear behind the first one and then pop their heads up. But overall, when you're looking at it, I think it really looks like you are looking at like two ramps. You're going up a curve and around and making a ramp. And it gives a really unique look to it. One of the things I found when I was making this is I did add a roof after I got done with it, but I kind of liked it without the roof as well. Depending on what kind of park you're doing, it looks like maybe what you would see in a less high tier park if you don't have a roof on it. I also covered up the railings as best I could. You could sometimes sneak a peek through them when you're moving the camera and see that they're there, but I wanted this to look like it was a big piece of concrete, and you were walking through a big concrete structure that had been poured and built 30 years ago, and maybe this has been here for a long time, and it's one of the classic roller coasters. if you've listened to some of my my shows, you know I kind of make up reasons and stories that I do things, because that's half the fun of these games, is you're making a park, and making the story and why things are like they are just helps you kind of get a grasp on maybe what's gonna work and what's gonna look good. And that's what I wanted here. I wanted that 1960s, 1970s, just very plain, utilitarian, but also beautiful entrance. Now you can see here I'm adding some extra pieces, trying to get it to work out. And in the end, I really didn't need these pieces I was adding here. There was no need for them all, and it doesn't really matter what color these are two-sided pieces. Each side can be a different color. It really doesn't matter in the end, because I'm going to color it all one color anyway. I decided to just block out that back wall because there's no need to. What am I going to do? Just have that little railing, and then you're going to be able to look down and see all the ugly piping and support. So yeah, no. So I went ahead and made the back wall. But you look at that and you could see how it kind of looks like it's just one big piece of poured concrete. It doesn't look like it's a structure of steps. It looks very solid and very 1960s, 1970s. Now we're just going to finish up by closing off the ends here and the back, and just making it a complete building. And at this point, I do need to put some railing along the top to finish it off, but I really like it even without the roof. Now I do go ahead and add a roof for the main reason that most times you're going to have a roof on it, and it's real easy to delete the roof in just a few clicks. And so I figured if I save it with the roof, I can always delete it again. So again, we need to decide how we're going to anchor the roof. And in this case, I decided, well, let's build the roof first. And then we'll just anchor it from a couple points and not overdo it with the anchoring on the roof, and just make it look good. Now here's the railing I was telling you about. That just kind of finishes it off, makes it look a little more complete, even though no one should be walking back there. You still got to think about safety. And so what I want to do is just put these big pieces here on the roof, and I want to make them so they're tall enough so they touch, but not so tall that they poke through the top. And then I put just a couple on the inside, just enough so it doesn't look completely out of the realm of possibilities that this is all that's holding up this big old roof. They're big heavy pillars. They can handle a lot, right? I like this. We're going to put a sign here at the front. I put a little sign by the exit door, and I'll put a bigger sign near the entrance there as well. Just things to kind of finish it off. I really do like this one. The more I look at it, I think it's great. Have you been trying to make entrances to your roller coaster? A lot of people don't do that. I find it just one of the biggest fun parts of the game is making the entrances to rides and roller coasters. Makes the park look unique and doesn't look like you just threw it together in 10 minutes. I think it really adds something. Now here we are finishing up the coloration. I was trying to decide on the coloration on these different pieces. I decided to go with this kind of a teal and off light tan, off yellow color. And when you look at this, I really think we've captured the look of an old roller coaster entrance. I love the look of this one. I think it really speaks to an older roller coaster, something that's been around for a while. So many old roller coasters get torn down every year, especially the old wooden ones. They get so expensive to keep up that companies just can't do it. And so I think maybe we'll pay a little homage to those coasters with this one. Now here's a little thing I put together with all the roller coasters. My default Splinter sign on that first one. There's the second one. Here's the third one, and in the back there's the third one before I added the railing, and before I added the roof. The railing is there once we get close enough. I think these really look nice. Now, as I said, this one is definitely one that you would see on maybe a park with a little lower economic status, one that maybe had been around for 30 or 40 years and wasn't doing quite as well. I love these 3.5, 4 entrances. Tell me what you think. You know, we do appreciate all our comments, and I really appreciate the subscriptions and all the kind words. Until next time, I hope everyone has a good one.